Hello everyone, welcome to Love Talk, time to communicate with Helena and James.
Our show aims to show you that love has more to do with the mind than it does with the heart.
We believe that when a lot of thought goes into understanding the ins and outs of how relationships work and also how understanding the opposite sex, you are giving yourself a very good chance of establishing a solid and happy relationship.
Think of your heart as that crazy puppy who just runs around chewing things and causing havoc and doesn't really understand the consequences of its actions.
Now think of the mind as the center where intelligent decisions are made that think not only of the here and now, but of the effect it will have in the long run.
Today we are looking at the effects that happen in a relationship when love becomes an obsession.
Love is surely a positive thing, but when it obsesses about the person to the point that they can't see cross mistakes that everyone else can, then this becomes a serious problem.
The aim of today's show is to give you the right tools and food for thought so that if you or someone you know is in a negative relationship, you can then make a decision of where to go from where you are.
Nicotine, cocaine, alcohol, heroin, work, gambling, sex, food. Life is basically a gauntlet of substances and behaviors humans can become obsessed with and dependent on. But what about love? Not just sex, but the deep interpersonal attachment we call love. Can it be addictive? The notion of obsessive, all-consuming, even addictive love goes back literally thousands of years. The ancient Greek poet Sappho wrote about watching her lover marry someone else, and she describes being seized with trembling, drenched in cold sweat, and feeling nearly dead. She might as well have been describing opium withdrawals or an Alanis Morissette song. Romantic love does have a lot of external features in common with drug addiction. Initial feelings of bliss and euphoria, obsessive, fixated behavior, often leading to poor, potentially life-ruining decisions. A 2010 paper from the New York Academy of Sciences points out that common criteria for diagnosing drug dependence include life interference, tolerance, withdrawal, and repeated attempts to quit. Sound anything like your relationship with your ex? But is there any more measurable basis for thinking love can be considered an addiction in the brain? Actually, yeah. Let's talk brain imaging. So, one way addiction hijacks the human brain is by taking advantage of mammalian reward and motivation systems, like the mesolimbic dopamine system, which includes the ventral tegmental area and the nucleus accumbens. This is a part of the nervous system that gives us internal rewards when we do something with an evolutionary benefit, like eating or having sex, or, unfortunately, snorting cocaine. Back in 2005, a study in the Journal of Neurophysiology used fMRI to look at the brains of test subjects who self-reported that they were intensely in love with someone else. When these lovebirds were shown pictures of the people they adored, there was activation in sections of that same mammalian reward and motivation system. For example, the right ventral tegmental area. But it gets worse. A follow-up study in 2010 looked at what happened to the brains of men and women who had been rejected, but reported that they were still deeply in love. And it wasn't pretty. When heartbroken lovers were forced to look at pictures of their exes, there was elevated activity in our old friends, the ventral tegmental area and the nucleus accumbens. Researchers pointed out that the rejected lovers showed several neural correlates in common with the brain activity of cocaine addicts craving their drug. So, at the level of brain chemistry, romantic love can be kind of like substance addiction. But there are reasons you might not want to refer to your latest crush as a full-on addiction just yet. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders doesn't officially recognize love addiction. And while cravings for love can be devastating when they're unrequited or self-destructive, they can also be deeply fulfilling in a way that no drug habit ever could be.
Now, not everything in that video is 100% accurate, and we may not agree with 100% of what was said there, but one thing is very important. When you are in a negative relationship, whether it's abusive or hurtful, you do make very poor decisions because you think that you're experiencing is love, when truly it is not love, and that leads people to make decisions which later on they regret, and this is what we'll be talking about today.
Absolutely. Now it's time to get to know our guests with the love quiz and 3 most annoying things about your partner. Hello and welcome to our weekly love quiz, and it's that time where we test our guests' knowledge about each other. I have today with me Yolanda and Antonello, and we are about to find out how well they know each other. Hi guys,
Hello.
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Well, the rules are very simple. I will ask you each 5 questions and you only have 10 seconds to answer each one correctly. Let's begin with you, Yolanda, shall we?
Okay,
You ready?
ready?
Okay, question number 1, 10 seconds on the clock. What's his worst memory? 10 seconds.
His worst memory.
You're running out of time.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, you just ran out of time. He said when he used to be depressed a few years ago. Okay. Question number 2, you still have 4 to go. Let's focus, okay?
Okay.
What kind of music does he like? 10 seconds.
Classic music.
Well
Guitar.
done. Well done, that's correct. Question number 3. What's his worst thing to eat? What is it that he hates eating? 10 seconds.
He loves eating everything.
No. Focus, you've got 10 seconds.
Oh, there's one thing. Okay.
You ran out of time. He said there's an African fish and veg stew that he really
Is
doesn't
it?
like to eat. Yep.
Oh, I don't cook African food.
Okay.
Good.
Well, you've got 2 more to go. All right. So don't give up.
Okay.
Question number 4. What item can he not leave home without? 10 seconds.
His mobile phone.
That's correct. You got that one right. And last question. Name 3 things. Now I need you to focus. You've got to be fast.
Yeah.
Name 3 things you and your partner think have in common.
Sports.
Yes. Come on, 2 more to go.
Food. We love food.
Yes.
And
No, and you ran out of time.
Oh.
He said food, exercise, sports, and also you've got the same goals.
yes.
That's the main one, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes,
it's
that's
true.
That's the most important one.
Exactly. Antonello,
Yes.
it's your turn now. Can
I'm
you do
ready.
better than Yolanda?
I will.
Do you know a lot about her?
I believe so. If
Yes?
I'm not, then I'll be worried.
Right, question number 1. Focus, you've got 10 seconds. What kind of movies does she like?
Comedies.
Correct. Question number 2. What are you most likely to argue about?
Cooking.
That's correct. Question number 3. What does she love the most about you? 10 seconds.
I think I cannot say my hair. I think she likes my jokes, my funny
Try something
ways.
else. Try something else quickly.
The way I cook,
Yes, and you're not a
exercise.
no. But you know what? I'll count this one as correct because she said it's one of the main things, cooking. Apparently you can cook, so that's good. Question number 4. Ready for this one? You've got 2 more left. What was her most difficult time in life so far? 10 seconds.
I think past relationship that really left her very, very scarred.
That's correct. Very well indeed. Question number 5. Where did you go on your first date?
On our first date, we actually went to a very nice, which was not a date, we were friends at that time, but we didn't know we were dating already.
You've got 10 seconds, you know, you're just telling me the whole story.
We went to a restaurant, a nice restaurant.
That's correct, yes. I'll count it as right because you know, you did very, very well. And the score is 2-5 and the winner is Antonello. Well done, Antonello.
Thank you.
Wow, 5 out of 5. Just like that. Well done. Well, now it's time for the 3 most annoying things about your partner.
One of them is when I'm cooking and he keeps coming and trying to correct me. That happened yesterday. Yeah, when he tries to correct me, and Even when I'm doing something Spanish, duh.
You know, if I'm talking to her, sometimes she's thinking about something, and I'm keep on talking to her. And then I say, what did I say? And she's just, usually it's opposite, you know, women talk and men have their mind somewhere else. That's one of the things that I don't like.
Well, sometimes I say a joke, and he says that's inappropriate, and he becomes very serious. And just me there laughing by myself. I say, well, it's just a joke.
One more thing, if I'm in the kitchen cooking something and she comes around and, you know, just messes up with my dishes.
Everything else, I like it.
Sometimes I push her exercising and she says, oh, I cannot do this, I cannot do this. I say, you can do it.
Welcome back. So you've already met our couple of today, Antonello and Yolanda. Now, the score was very different, right, guys? 5-2, Antonello. You know her pretty well, Yolanda. You have 2 weeks to catch up before your wedding.
I've been studying her for a long time.
I think that someone is not listening.
Exactly.
Someone is not listening or paying attention.
I was a bit nervous, you know, it just took me by surprise.
Okay, Yolanda, I want to start a little bit perhaps with your story, because today we're talking about, you know, the fact that if you love someone, you do not hurt them. It's not possible to love and to hurt the person at the same time. If someone is in a relationship where the other person is constantly hurting them, then it's very likely that there's no love there, 99.9% chance. Now, your situation in the past was very much like that. You had 2 relationships where there was emotional, physical abuse. Did you think at that point that even though there was the abuse, the hurt, that this person still loved you?
Yeah, it was mostly me wanted to believe, forcing myself to believe that he did love me, because I didn't want to break up this relationship. Mostly the second one, because I was already married, and I believe it's because of culture, the background where I come from. When you don't see divorce in family. So for me, also pride, because I didn't want to come back, because there was a lot of friends and family against this marriage. So for me, I didn't want to come back to them and say, oh, this is a second relationship that has failed. And so I kept fighting to make it work. And I wanted to believe that he did love me.
So you wanted to believe.
Yeah.
Deep down, did you know that he didn't?
Well, I did doubt, obviously, because you know, the pain I went through, I did doubt many times, and that made me very insecure about everything. But it was more thinking about myself, about ending up being by myself, people coming back to me, being by myself with a child again. I just didn't want to go through that.
Right.
So
it's interesting, you know, because from other people that we've spoken to about, you know, their abuse and everything, it's like you guys you were so oppressed that it completely blurred your judgment. You couldn't see that this was nowhere near love or affection or anything that.
yeah. I even many times that happened, I used to blame myself, not only because he used to blame me, so I do this because, and then he will come and apologize, but I used to really believe that it was my fault, you know, many times. So that's another reason why I kept going. I said, well, I have to change this, I have to change that, I have to be like this. Yes, it is my fault, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't break this, I shouldn't.
You see, how many times do we hear? I used to be one of them, unfortunately, because I had similar situations with people that I know, and I used to judge the person. Why don't you just leave that man? He's not doing you any good. He's killing you slowly. And the person, but I love him. You don't understand.
And the person who's in that relationship, their judgment is clouded by their emotions.
Yeah, they think it's their fault. There's nothing wrong with the person.
Logically, you would have thought that the most intelligent thing is to leave, right? But you couldn't. Now, Antonello, your situation was very different. Tell us what was your past relationships like before you met Yolanda?
Well, I had, since I was young, I had a long relationship when I broke up, which was actually very emotional. And I was abusive, psychologically abusive.
You were?
I was.
Right.
I was very jealous. I was very insecure. I was going through a lot of situations that made me insecure. When we broke up, I actually became quite wild. You know, I just jumped from one relationship to another, and I would just straight away would say, you know, forget about any kind of commitment that would lead to marriage.
You couldn't even think about it?
No, I just wanted to have fun, and in many cases I even liked the person, but I didn't want to have those kind of commitments that would involve like a lifetime spending with the person. So that was my past, from one to another. Eventually, I got to the point when I actually wanted to have a relationship that would last, but still I wouldn't get it right.
Right.
So that was my life.
Why wouldn't you get it right? Was it your selection process that you would choose the wrong person, or was it that you were insecure? What do you think?
There were variety of factors that actually would make me. First thing, I think the role model wasn't excellent. My parents, unfortunately, even though they still together and after they've been married for 60 years.
But 60 years married?
Yeah,
wow.
But they even more actually. They've been arguing all the time. Even now, one is 85, the other one is 82. They argue like they've been meeting for
5 minutes.
Yeah, for 5 minutes. And I said, you should be like brother and sister right now. But so that was one of the factors. And also, I think culturally, you are expected. I mean, back home, you're expected almost to be like a man has to have many women and stuff like this. So that also has an imprinting on your.
Now, there's something I wanted to ask you guys. I wanted to ask you something. You are going to get married in a few weeks. And you're no longer, let's put it like this, you are no longer 19 years old.
No.
You're 21.
I'm 25 next month.
So, the thing is, there's a lot of people who think, well, I'm 35, I'm 36 or 37, whatever. And, I haven't yet found the right person. I mean, did you start to panic a little bit? Did you start to think maybe my time is up? Because a lot of people think like that. Did that ever go through your mind, any of you?
It came through my mind that, I wasn't getting it right, so time was running out. And, you get sometimes a bit desperate. Like, it's not that I didn't have, I didn't have a problem with meeting girls or... But I wouldn't get it right.
You had sorry to interrupt you. You had inner issues, didn't you? Because
Yes.
I'm listening to what you were saying, that you had problems with commitment. Why was that? Maybe was that a reason, or?
I believe it has to do a lot.
Jumping from one to another, and then.
I think it has a lot to do with what I have been experiencing, and also you see couples that they get married and they just split up.
So
they spend a lot of money for a big wedding, and then 2 years on the line they're already divorced. I mean, it's a situation you really wonder a lot. Like, is it really worth to go through it? It's not. It's much easier actually to stay with somebody, and then if things go wrong, one goes on one way,
and time went by,
and time goes by, and
you
then
got worried,
and
right?
you got like you wake up like, wow, I'm actually in a stage that actually
getting younger.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify something, because we said earlier, 37, 38, and you start thinking, we're not saying that if you're 37, you're old by any means, right? You can be happy at whatever age. We're not saying that. We're talking about the elephant in the room, what people think, but sometimes they don't really talk about it.
And it is something that most people worry about anyway, so but they don't talk about it.
Yes, and we have to go to a break in just a few seconds, but before the break, Yolanda, 2 children?
Yes.
2 failed marriages?
Yeah.
Did you think, that's it for me?
Yeah.
You did? We're going to hear about that right after the break, very quickly, because then we want to get to the part of how these 2 are now, because you have an interesting relationship, you're always joking with each other and so on, which is good. But we're going to learn a bit more about Antonello and Yolanda right after the break.
Welcome back. We have here with us today Antonello and Yolanda, and they are sharing with us their story about how they met and everything. But I want to know from you now, because before the break you gave us a little, there was a bit of a suspense. What did you, because you used to think that because you have two kids, two failed relationships, it would be hard for you to find happiness. So what happened? How do you explain your relationship today?
That's what I thought. I was actually happy by myself. I got to a point where I was happy by myself, and I said, well, I can make it by myself. I'm quite independent. I don't need anyone else. It's just I don't think I will ever get anyone else that I could get on well with, or I just thought it was, my kids, how it's gonna be very difficult, very challenging. So I'd rather either wait until they grow up, they are, they're out of the house, or just that's it.
But what changed then?
What made you change?
Well, I went to several seminars, the Love Talk Live, and I learned first to believe in myself, and then I also understood how important it is a love life in for someone. And I said, well, I thought I saw couples as well, testimonies, people that get on well. I saw many examples which I don't have from in my family. Everybody is married for life, many years, but they don't get on.
So like Antonello's parents, right?
Yeah.
Having as many women as possible, because that means you are a man, isn't it? Wow, what a terrible culture thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so even my parents as well, they've been married for many years, but they always are with. So I said, I don't think I want to be in a relationship like that. But when I saw testimonies and people that are happy, I said, well, why not?
Right.
Maybe.
And it's a lot about to do with inner healing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can't just come out of two failed relationships that left so many marks on you, and then now I think I'm ready.
Yeah, obviously I learned where I went wrong in my past relationships. I changed. I mean, I know I can change every day. We're still going, so I'm learning to make things different,
and
to get different results. Yeah, and
isn't
I know
it?
my value. Yeah,
I think that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, something really interesting about you guys, Antonello, is that you were friends for a really long time before you even started dating, right? How long were you friends for?
Probably 5 or 6 years. We probably sometime we would date without knowing it. We would go out.
So you were dating, but you didn't know you were dating?
We didn't know. I mean, I actually, as you say, I had this issue with the women who had children. So even though sometimes I would think, oh, she's nice, and when I would think of the children, I would say, oh no. That cannot be. Sometimes I would think, okay, once I even planned, I called her, let's get ready for the movie. And I say, no, you're gonna go out, it's fine. But then on the way, the children. In the back of my mind.
It's a big responsibility, isn't
it? It is. It's not easy. I mean, it's you have to think.
Challenge.
It's a challenge. It's an extra challenge. So, but then.
And tell us a little bit about, because you were friends for a really long time, which is good, right? Some people, Helena and I, we started differently. We started already having an interest in each other, we started dating and so on. But you were friends for a really long time, so you really knew each other really well, which is great. Now, how is your relationship? I mean, how do you guys get on? What is it that makes your relationship work? How do you see your relationship?
It's working fine. Actually, we laugh a lot. We spend quality time together, and we don't need to do big things to feel happy, to actually have a nice afternoon. Even me cooking, and she's actually picking on me, and that makes us laugh. I chase her out of the kitchen, she comes back, and we spend time, watch a movie. Obviously, she has 2 children. We have children now, so we spend time in a quite simple and relaxed way, and we get on.
And the challenge of these children that are now your children as well, I mean, it's a challenge, right? Because
Yes.
everyone's getting used to each other and so on. How do you make that work?
Well, I think he's actually working fine. I mean, there is, I get along with them, even though obviously the older one is more independent and has his own mind already. But he's a fine boy, he's very intelligent, and it's just, you know, obviously this is not an easy time, but we have good time. The child, the small one, Ellen, she's very lovely. She's bubbly. She's always around. It's fine. And actually, it's like when you go to the supermarket and you pay for one, you get three. That's what happened. I saw the deal, and you know, I got it.
You couldn't refuse such a deal. But you see, this is what I call a real man, not the one who has many women, but the one who embraces a woman and, you know, what comes with it. Good for you. Well done.
And for you, Yolanda, I mean, you said before you also were a little bit abusive in one of your previous relationships, but now you're a different man. I mean, how is it now? You now have a very healthy relationship compared to before. Before you had two failed relationships, they were hurt, so you possibly before you were very apprehensive about a new relationship. How is it now that you've dealt with all of that, you've moved on, you now have a relationship where both of you have dealt with the issues of the past because Love Talk Live helped you with that? How is it now to be in a relationship like this?
Well, that's what I saw in him. That's why we became friends, and that made me see how he was, you know, as a gentleman, always treating me really well, always respecting. So, you know, talking for hours. I never experienced anything like that. Like having a male friend that I could be natural and just be myself and talk about anything, you know, anything. So I never experienced that. So that's why I started to like him, even though the children, you know, they said, "Oh man, but why?" So frustrating. So I tried many times to, you know, run away from him and try not to, you know, be too much together. But we will always end up together anyway and talking for hours and having fun and doing different things. So, and that's what made me realize, well, it is possible, you know.
I just want to open a little brackets here, and for us to mention something very, very brief. We have said in this show here before that married people have to be together with friendships of the opposite sex, because friendships with the opposite sex always ends up in something else. Even if you know, you may not see me as more than a friend, but you can't guarantee that I don't see you as more than a friend.
Yeah.
And this was your case, because you were so good friends. You know, I think you started liking him first. I remember talking to you about it before you even...
Yes.
Have you told him that?
Yeah.
You told him that?
Yeah.
So it's... If you're in a relationship, you're married, be careful, because you may be saying, oh, I have this great female friend and you're a guy, or you have this great guy friend and you're a girl. Be careful, because even if you think nothing of it, you can't guarantee that the other person is going to think the same.
And you don't know, because both are married, right? So they go out, they go to the cinema, oh, I'm going shopping with my friends, see you later. You don't know if he's struggling in his marriage.
Exactly.
And then he sees you all lovely and all nice, bubbly and all this kind of thing. And you're like, oh, I wish my wife was like that. Yeah. Come on.
If you're single, great, right? If you're single, it's great to start a relationship with a person who's of the opposite sex, because that's the ideal way of things developing. So if you're single, you're on the right track. And you guys are excited about your wedding in a few weeks?
Yeah.
But Yolanda, I have a question for you just before we finish. Looking back, I don't want you to look back too many times, just this once, okay?
Yeah.
Because you guys are going to get married very soon. Do you see a difference, you know, from the love, from what you used to think love was and now?
Yeah, there is a big difference. There is a friendship here.
Can
which
you see how
before
different
there
it
wasn't.
is?
Very, very different. Before there wasn't any friendship. There was just obsession, passion. There was
Fear.
There was fear. There was, you know, it's not love, you know, because you can't call it like that. It's like
it's an unhealthy feeling.
It's
right?
very
sickness.
unhealthy.
It's
It's a sickness. Yeah, it's like, oh, you know, it's thinking just about yourself. which right now I think more about him, so that's why it works out more. Or we just get on, we're just compatible, we are friends. He is my best friend now, so that's why it works.
Wonderful.
You know, before you just get into a relationship, into intimacy, and you don't know anything about the person. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do say that a lot, but it's nice that you say that to reinforce it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're very happy for you.
Yes.
And you are an example of how no matter what a person has experienced in their relationships in the past, whether it's been, hurt, abuse, disappointments, you can still be happy, right? You can deal with that, overcome that, and you can still be happy. Thank you very much for being on the show. We have been trying to get this couple here on the show for a while, right? But it didn't, preparations for the wedding and so on, but they're here now. So thank you very much, okay,
Thank you
guys?
for sharing. Thank you for
It's been
coming.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Now, don't go anywhere, because after the break, we are going to be talking more, giving you tips of how you can deal with relationships that are obsessive, that are hurtful. And like she said, when a relationship is just obsessive, it's unhealthy. So don't go anywhere, because after the break, we're going to be talking more about this. See you in a bit. Now, it was great having a couple like Antonello and Yolanda here with us, because they prove to everyone that no matter what you've gone through in your relationships, no matter how negative things were, you always have a chance to make things work if you have the right tools to work with.
Yes, and something that she said that really called my attention was that she sought to be healed from within, because she was really hurt inside from what had happened to failed relationships. So this is indeed a very good reference, I would say.
Absolutely, and that's what we do at Love Talk and Love Talk Live. We help people to give them the tools to learn how to use intelligent love. Now, I think the first thing we need to get out of the way is that this kind of obsession that one can have in a relationship is not love.
True love means the sacrifice and the giving of oneself to the other person. An obsession to be with someone, whatever reason, to the point of ignoring the harm that the person is doing to you, certainly isn't love.
There may be people who are watching this show now who have been ignored, hurt, betrayed, abused, and still they look at their partners as the only person on the face of the earth that can make them happy.
We're not saying that a relationship must end at the first sight of a problem, but certain things should never be accepted.
Every time someone lets their obsession for their partner override things that should never be accepted, it's as if a little bit of that person dies day by day. It gets to the point that the person no longer has the strength to imagine themselves without the person they obsess over. Now, if you've been accompanying our show for a while, you know that we are defenders of marriage, defenders of relationship, and we think that you should go until the end to try to make a relationship work. Now, things are very different if there is hurt, if there's abuse, if there's neglect, and sometimes it may be that you need to jump ship if one of these things are part of your relationship. We hope that tonight's program has been helpful and it has given you the tools to do something better with your life, with your relationship. And let's wrap up today's show with the trip for two. Until next time, have a wonderful evening. Hello, Love Talk. Today we came to record here at Love Lane. And we thought we would tell you something really important about love. You know, Lena, there's a lot of people that love each other a lot. But the truth is they can't stay together. Because there's a lot of things that cause couples to drift apart.
Yeah, to be separated even though they are together. It's true.
You know, we see a lot of people asking us, how is it possible that you love someone but you can't stay together? You love someone and you have constant arguments and you drift apart. And the truth is, there are a few things that are worth mentioning when it comes to separation. You can live under the same roof and be separated because you don't want to make an effort to understand the other person, for example.
Yes, and that's true. Another example, another reason why couples are separated even though they are together is lack of forgiveness. Maybe one or the other can't seem to be able to forgive, is not able to forgive for something that they've done. And although they say, let's give it another go, deep down they have not forgiven, so they find it hard to move on.
And of course, part of forgiving is saying, I'm sorry, right? For the smallest things, but also for things that are more serious. So don't be afraid, especially if you're a man, right? Because men find it more difficult to say, I'm sorry. I know I do. So don't be afraid.
You're getting better.
I'm getting better, right? Don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry. This won't happen again, whether you're a man or a woman.
I find that to be selfish when you are in a relationship to make yourself happy and you don't care about the other person. So the other person feels left out. It's like it's all about you and the other person is just an accessory for you. And that's very, very bad.
Right in front of us is a statue of none other than William Shakespeare. Now, when you talk about William Shakespeare, we have amazing stories of love. But is it really love? Did William Shakespeare know anything about love? The truth is, we believe he didn't. Look at Romeo and Juliet, right? It's a tragic story, not a love story. And unfortunately, that's what we see people taking for themselves. They think that love is tragic. They think that love hurts, that love causes pain. When you think like that, it doesn't help with your relationship.
And I even dare to say that there's many Shakespeares out there writing, talking about love, not knowing anything about love. And that is worrying. Such people write even on magazines, speak on TV, without themselves even knowing what love is about. And then people get so involved with the emotion. The emotion, the drama, love hurts, it's life. Everyone goes through that. Not really. I don't know what kind of hurt you're thinking about, but abuse, someone belittling you, making you feel like you're nothing, like you're not a human being, that's not a good hurt. That's a terrible hurt.
If your relationship looks like a Shakespeare tragedy, then you shouldn't be in it. Get out of it. Shakespeare knew nothing about love. Unfortunately, perhaps you know more about love than he did. So don't let your love life be a tragedy. If it is a tragedy, get out of it and build something good, healthy, and solid. There's 15 love lanes in London. We are in one of them. Let's build a healthy and intelligent love life.